I'm super excited to welcome everyone to our panel. We are now going to bring all of the knowledge that we've been talking about throughout the day in this room, and we're going to listen to what it actually looks like through the lens of different panelists. And in no particular order, we're going to be looking at not only practice, but real lived experiences. And I think this is very important, and that is one of the gaps that I see when we talk about education. So we have Areej with me here today. Areej is currently working as a career practitioner. She works with students, she works with parents, but she's also an influencer in this field of creativity and career practice. So without further ado, let's give her a big pull up, and everyone's going to be able to introduce. Do you want to give us a quick bit on what your ethos is for careers? Yeah, I think it's up.
Okay. So I believe in...
Probably needs to bring it closer.
Yeah. Okay. Since I am a career advisor, I believe that students should have the right to identify what they want to do. And as parents, as the support system for those students who are being prepared for a reality that not only we are not going to be there for them, but we don't know. So allowing them the space to identify their own terminologies in their own ways. Creativity in our time and in our era is completely different than how it is now and how is it going to be perceived in the future. One of my most important values is I want to listen to students and allow them the space to come up with the plans, help them with the plans to reach to their goal.
Thank you so much, Areej. And then we have Azizah Crane. Azizah, I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. You gave me that funny look. I was like, okay, maybe not. You're also a creative, but you're here using the lens of mom. So I don't want to disallow you to use the other lens, but I want you to remember that as moms who might not also be in that creative zone, they might see things slightly differently. So if you can kind of hover between those two different lenses and maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're passionate about this conversation.
Well, most of my friends are all academics, high school friends. My school moms are all academics. So I'm one of the very few creative, financially writing photographer. I grew up in a creative house, but my parents stopped me from being creative. And I know that if I don't focus or allow our children to focus on their strength, if they are born creative, then they'll just end up to be average. And so why would we want to allow that instead of guiding them, instead of supporting them? And like you said on your talk earlier, that, job is no longer stable in today's world. And with AI already integrated in our life, whether people like it or not, it has to be, the fun is already there. So as a mom, I don't want to stop her. I want to prevent her from that. And I don't want to force her in one part-time. It's more of a, okay, if this is not the right way, then think of what's next step.
I love that. Thank you so much. I love that. And I love that you said your lived experience of, I was creative, my parents hindered that creativity in me. I don't want to do that. Why do I want her to be average? And that is what I would call the definition of creating a young person with not just what's expected, but resilience in all capacities.
Yes, I agree with you. But I also lived through that because I was forced to go mainstream because my parents, or I don't know, but I know it's happening still today, then if you're not doing the sciences and whatever not, then the arts is just something that you only do because it's stupid. And that's a whole different mind. Change of, that's not true.
I love that. Maya Crane. Let's give Maya a big clap. It's so great of you being here with us. I'm so proud. Maya, you are a creative student and you're aspiring for creativity in your pathway, not only academically, but also on a professional platform as well. Tell us why, when you were offered this opportunity, you thought, yes, I want to be on that panel? What brings you here today, and why is this an important conversation for you?
Okay, first of all, if you couldn't tell, that's my mother. My name is davecrane, and I think I will mention this later on, but very briefly, I took this because after a certain point in my life where I realized that I actually found my element, I started taking opportunity after opportunity and just throwing myself out there. And so here I am. Should I introduce myself?
Yes, of course. Like life, right? Life, Maya.
Anyway, so I'm 15 years old, I'm year 10, and some fun facts about me is that I've actually introduced the music column to the school newsletter. That's one of the subjects I take. I take art, music, drama, and business. So I don't regret it. I've performed with bands at school, and we've done things like open for TEDx, and I've also performed by myself for Christmas performances at hotels. And so here I am giving my student perspective as someone who's still trying to figure out what that means growing up and where the future's heading.
I love it. And sitting next to you is someone that I know is listening very intently. And probably, thank you so much, Maya. Thank you for being here with us. I'm really excited to have you here. Chuka, I am going to assassinate your name, so I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let you pronounce it. Chuka is very interesting to have you here with me. And you know that I am such an advocate of the work that you do. You lived in a very academic world. Chuka came to the world of work as an engineer. Not only did he do undergrad, he decided that he was going to go off and do a master's degree in engineering as well. You worked in that field, you come from academic backgrounds, but you decided to flip the switch. And you're a film director, an actor, and not only you're an employer, you hire actors, you train young people. Why is this conversation one that you believe needs more attention? And why did you decide to say yes when Crazy Miss V asked you to be here?
Hello everyone, my name is Chuka Ekogu, and I'm from Nigeria. And I'd like to thank Ms. V for having me around today. I believe in what we call that nobody starts where they end, right? So it's all a journey that we cannot define. So when I made that switch, it wasn't intentional. It was something that was there. And I believe that I could handle it. I graduated from Middlesex University, and like Ms. V said, I was fully academia. I was a campus representative for my department, and I used to go for all the meetings. But something happened. Being from my culture where we tell stories, I have filmmakers around me, but when I got here, I keep asking myself, do we have such culture here in this region? Is there anything about filmmaking? Do we have something like that? But I stumbled into what we call the announcement of filmmaking, and I decided to go for an audition. And behold, that was a Bollywood movie, it was an Indian movie. That was the first of all its kind. I was selected. And it was a South Indian movie, and I acted with Krishna. And after that point, I said, if I can connect myself with this culture, right, then there is no stopping point to this. After the academic session, when I graduated from Middlesex University, I decided to go into the creative aspect, where I had to do a lot of trainings, going for acting classes. It was a journey, and I believe what we have for now, I'm going to go into that later on. And yeah, so this is who I am in a nutshell.
Thank you so much. Such a great story, and we need to tell it more and more and more. And I love that you're here on the panel with Maya, because now she can not only celebrate it for herself, but actually see someone that took the leap at a later stage and not looking back with any regret in doing that. So thank you for being here. Areej, I'm going to drive the conversation slightly different, and I'm going to kind of poke the bear here. As a career practitioner myself, I know where I'm heading with this, and I know that you know where I'm going to head with this. How do you sit down with students when you are helping them navigate those next steps, which you're doing currently? Some have already done early applications. The fire heat is on. Parents are on eggshells wondering about the choice, and then you're sitting with these students. How do you navigate the conversation when stability and making a choice come in hand for choosing that next step?
This is such an interesting question. It's such an interesting approach. But let me ask you the question in a different way. If anyone working in any industry, in any field, regardless of their technical knowledge, but they don't have the creativity skill or aspect, do you think they have a high level of stability? We think, and as per studies, their jobs are quite risky because creativity, critical thinking, and thinking outside the box comes as a third skill based on the economic forum, based on a lot of other also studies as a much needed skill. So, I mean, that changes the whole equation after looking at it from a different perspective. So yes, it was based on the perception, the social perception. It could have been a risky job, but in reality,
I love that. So you're asking them the question. It's almost a rhetorical question.
exactly.
And how did they respond to you when you pose that to them? What are some of the
Well,
responses you get?
Some of the very interesting responses that I get is, yeah, I know I don't need to get into the research, but I want her to do X, Y, and Z. So when we look at the social perception, you will find that parents usually do not identify what creative majors are or what creative careers are. They don't have any idea. As long as the student graduates from a university with a title, then they think that their professional life will be easy for them. But in reality, if you go for someone who is, for example, an architect, yes, they graduate with a title, but if they don't have the very high level of creativity, then they wouldn't be employed, nor they would be entrepreneurs in the future. So, as much as I understand parents' concerns, I believe that it's our responsibility to educate them and to give them the kind of, to help with unlearn what concepts they have in order to introduce the right kind of mindset for them.
I love that. Maya, I'm going to ask a question that you're not ready for, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Here you are sitting in GCSE level times, right? So for anyone that doesn't know, GCSE curriculum is that British national curriculum. It's year 10, 11, so we're looking at 15, 16-year-olds, and they're being asked to choose subjects and spend 2 years. So if you have a commitment issue, you gotta get over it. But it's 2 intensive years of testing, mock testing, preparing for one test that you do at the end of year 11. So the pressure is on. And at the same time, you're having conversations with your career counselor who may be advising on 6th form subjects. So 6th form is year 12 and 13. This is when they then have to choose their top 3 subjects, but they don't get to choose. They have to be allowed to choose it as well. So when you're having these conversations right now, Maya, does stability in your future career come into the conversation with a counselor? And if not, how does stability for work feel like for you?
Well, to be honest, I'm in year 10, so I'm just starting my course, and I haven't had these talks yet. But I've had conversations with other students saying, hey, when you go to 6th form, what are you going to take? I don't know. Hopefully something I enjoy and I, would have fun doing.
So what does a stable career feel like for you when you think about working in your future?
I think that's just the thing. I have no idea. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I do know that with these traditional, stable careers, I don't see myself doing that. I think I will pass out doing that. So probably won't go into it.
I love that. Thank you so much, Maya. I know that came from left field. That as I was listening to you speak, I just thought, I wonder what a student feels like on the other side of that conversation. And now I'm going to bring the same question to you, Azizah. I know that when you were growing up, you were creative, and now in your professional field of photography, you are creative. does stability mean something different for you when you think about Maya's future?
Yeah.
So as a mom looking into the future of her child, when you're sitting down with maybe more academic moms and you're talking about sixth form subjects, what does stability in the future career mean for them, or through those conversations, your understanding of that?
I think the difference between me and the other moms is I know, and I believe in this, that you can't judge a fish in the country. Ryan is strong in creative. So that's what I'm going to guide her. I'm going to use, make full use of AI. And also I married the most incredible, most creative man on earth that I know. So we as a family are utterly creative. And at the end of the day, if she can't find a job, we'll just create one for them.
I love that. I love that. And that really is changing the narrative, isn't it? And there is no such thing as traditional stability. It's what you're saying. It's let's bust that man and let's create something. And the UAE has identified that as well, right?
Exactly.
So Chuka, carrying that conversation forward, what was the conversation like with you and your peers when you made the change? Did stability come in? Because now you weren't a student, you were a full-fledged person earning adult money, paying adult bills, having to fund an adult life. How did stability come into play? And was it ever a thought for you of like, engineering is a very known, credible, and they pay well, and I need to make that choice? Or did you think, no, I'm resilient, I can do this?
I just decided to do it. Because, like I said earlier, I'm from a family of academics. My parents don't pay their souls, and my parents are late. My mom was a teacher, my dad was an engineer. So we have that thing at home where this is what you have to become when you grow up. So, and it's just me and my other brother. So we have that strive of, he was a geo miner, he studied geology and mining. And I studied metallurgical materials engineering. So it was like that battle, But with time, getting to a certain level, in the education level, and in yourself, of knowing yourself as a person, you come to a realization that this is not what you want to do. But you have to balance it with what the system has given already. Because you can't go above the system. Rather, you have to understand the system by achieving those, whether in terms of certificates or what can give a guide to what the society has given. But when it comes to the creative aspect and the sustainability of this field, the stability aspect, I was like, yeah, that is what I'm going to do. So it was a challenge. Like Maria is saying, I understand at this point, she kind of going to be kind of confused, right? And that's where the family comes in. Peers, pressure as well. They need that guide to guide her through, and it's going to help her along the way, right? Which also happens to every other young adult out there, because with time, they're not going to understand whether they want to do it, but if you, as a parent, understand, or as a teacher, understand that this is what she's good at, this is what he's good at, this is what this person is very good at, then you guide them through that. If not, they're definitely going to find a way to tap into that and do a self-thought. Yeah.
Thank you. I love that. Areej, let's jump into practicalities right now. So in front of you, you have a parent telling you, I want stability. Encourage them to study this. How do you practically sit down with a parent and a child, ease the child in terms of young person, in terms of, listen, I've got your back, let's look at this logically, let's look at this practically. How do you shape that conversation with parents so that the teenager is walking away feeling heard and supported, and the parent is walking away feeling like, okay, I can have confidence that if Ms. Areej says that this is going to happen, this is possible?
Well, this conversation cannot start a few days or a few weeks before applying for university. This is a process where I've seen a lot of trends where families, they tend to allow their kids to make their own choices, whether it's being in the creative fields or it's being in even art and filming and other majors. But let's leave that aside. I mean, when we start in the American system, exposing the students to a wide variety of courses, exposing them to a wide variety of options, the students would have started the conversation as early as grade 9 with their parents. That will make both decision process as well as future plans a little bit easier. So trusting the students and trusting that their passion will allow them and will be the driving force. As Mom said, I loved it when she said, we'll create a job. I've been telling both parents, students, as well as my peers that if you are passionate enough about it, you will find ways to monetize on this skill. So keeping all that in mind, I do believe that when students, in many cases, they must have started monetizing on their passions early on, even in their middle school years or high school years, proving to their parents that this is my passion and I don't need to wait to get my degree. The degree is gonna come handy later on, but now my passion I can monetize on. So giving them the agency, allowing them to pursue what they want to do is one of the initial points. And in many cases, you would definitely have students who are passionate about a wide variety of things. Creativity can be one of them. In that case, I mean, there has to be a kind of a middle ground where they can study majors that can employ their creativity. But at the same time, if we have those stubborn parents, I mean, you need to bring it to the reality that we are preparing these kids for a different reality. It's their journey. And we need to allow them to live it, to make the choices the way they want. And just I had last year a student whose parent, one of them works in the military and her mom is a doctor, and she had a 1560 in her SAT, yet she chose to go to an acting school. Is it the norm? It's not the norm. Is it the expectation? It's not the expectation. A student taking AP Calculus, AP Chemistry, AP Biology, all fives, is definitely ready to go to the med school.
So these grades are really high grades, just to put it out there.
Yeah, these are the top grades in these courses, and these are college credits that the student took in her grade 12. Yet, it was her wise decision, where I had to sit with both herself and her mom, where I told her, it's not about her academia. If you have seen her, because I am the AP coordinator too, if you had seen her in the classroom, you can tell that her passion is communicated through the way she is drawing in AP Biology, the way she is communicating her passion, even in her strong academia. So allowing her to pursue what she wants to pursue will be giving her the platform to be at her maximum. So I always have the conversation with the parents where if you trust your kids and if you trust giving them the chance to make their choices, you will be amazed.
I love that, trust. I almost think it's more, I think as parents, and I can speak from that lived experience as well, and I think that's one of the areas that we both have in common. And when we're working with students, we're not just practitioners, we're actually moms too, so we kind of get that. But it's trusting that we raise them to be independent living beings, and that we've given them everything that we had to give, and their educators have supplemented with even more knowledge, that we now have to let the bird fly and trust that they can make those decisions. It's a really vulnerable time, I think, more for moms, dads, and guardians and educators, and saying, did we do enough? Can they do it? And when I always wonder if we're holding them back, is it that we don't trust them or that we don't trust that we gave enough? Maya, when you're sitting down with yourself, and I know that mom and dad are very creative, and I know dad is super creative, but when you're sitting with yourself and thinking of a time in your life when you're going to wake up an adult version of yourself, knowing that everything that you do is for you, how do you look into that future? How do you look into that and think, when I'm my own person, paying my own bills for myself, what do I want to make sure that feels right for me in that time? Not what my teachers think I should do, what feels right for me. And I'm not saying the job title, I'm saying when you think of that time, what do you think life will be for you? That's a big question. I know, and it's not on our question list. And I could see mom in the corner of my eye going, what are you asking my daughter? But I'm trying to get you to think outside of what academics tell you to think. Where do you see that version of Maya taking you?
So you're asking like what I see myself in the future.
How do you see yourself feeling in yourself in the future?
I'm not really sure how to answer this. I guess I want to make sure that like future me does not lose her passion and still continues to take opportunities and pursuing whatever, like drama, arts, music, and making sure that whether I do an office job or whether I do something crazy, I want to make sure that I'm enjoying myself, living life to the fullest.
I love that. I really love that. I think that's iconic, and definitely applaud both parents for allowing Maya to be able to confidently have space to feel that way. Because I know, and I think, would you agree, Azizah, that is part of the journey of cultivating creativity in our children, is allowing them the space to be able to voice that kind of confidence.
I remember when she was much younger, and I see a lot of moms doing this for their toddlers. They climb the toddler's line. I remember doing mine as a mommy and board. So be bored. And that cultivated and built on a creativity way. They do say, and
if you love what you do,
and then it's not work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just make sure you pick any career or job, just monetize it. Find a way to monetize it, and then you're happy.
Thank you. I love that. Chuka, I'm going to ask you the question you've probably been asked 1,000 times, but I'm going to ask you again. Oftentimes, when young people want to go down that creative path, the first thought is, acting. Nobody makes money in acting. Can do it. How do you deal with rejection in the world of film? And that is something that most parents are concerned about. It's, can my child succeed? You know, how many people win an Oscar? Will my child be one of those people? And then how are they going to survive? But you know, on your side of it, it's not about how am I going to survive. It's how resilient can I be at these auditions, one after the other. And I'm also going to ask you, because this question is really important, and I'm sure it was a conversation when you were, deciding, although you said that it wasn't, I'm sure at some point somebody would have told you, how many auditions did you have to do to get that one job? How do you deal with that?
So the excitement which starts from the onset. It's a career field where those who understand it tend to be very honest. If you meet the right person, they have to tell you the truth, right? So the real deal is that, like I said earlier, you should be ready for how to handle rejections. So when I mentioned about the parents, peer pressures, and friends or relatives or teachers as well, if we see a person who is very talented and want to go into that field, we need to prepare them on how to handle rejection. That's number one. Failure aspect. 98 no's and 2 yeses. And definitely that's what you're going to face.
It sounds like my world as a solopreneur.
And that's what I've gone through this. And it's a learning curve as well. I'm still growing in the industry. And that's the first thing I put out there. Even when I'm going for an audition, sometimes they might want you to play this character They might end up saying, oh, we just want you to be a stand-in or a double. So that means we're not gonna see your face in the movie, but you're gonna be the same like the main character, right? But what happens most of the time is the talents they shy away. They're like, no, I wanna be in front of the camera. This is what I wanna be an actor. But then there's every aspect of that, being an actor, learn it, get the knowledge. Why should I be a double? Why should I play as a stand-in? Why should I play as a background extra? Why should I be a supporting actor? Why should I be a main actor, right? So all those things are very important. But the rejection that comes with it will happen. So the drive that you have as a person to get that goal attained is good. Keep pushing. But when the rejection comes in, do not say, oh, maybe they hated me because of this. No one hates you. It's just that it's not your time, right? It's not your time, and but there are some elements which, as Venus, I point out a lot in my acting class. There's some elements which I share, which what I've been using over the years to navigate was what I call the 6 letter elements, which is patience. It's very important. You need to be very humble. And identification, which is the letter I, and the 2 letter D is there, which is determination and devotion. When I step into devotion, it's a very sensitive point because everyone shies away from it, which is your belief system. Your belief system guides you through. Then the last one is the letter O, which is the observation. You need to be very observant of your environment. You need to understand where you're going, who I'm about to meet. You need to study them. You need to research about these people. We need to understand what the character is. So, in a nutshell, it's very, very important, you understand yourself and understand that the rejections were gonna come, but you're still gonna move.
I feel like this was not only incredible in the context of creativity and creative careers, but if we had the room filled with entrepreneurs, everything you were just saying, it would be their lived experience. And we're talking entrepreneurs in any industry. Rejection is the number one, step 1 of entrepreneurship. Get over the rejection. So would you say, Chuka, that the advice that you give to actors is not limited to the film industry or creative industry, that it actually, in your role as a film director and also in your role as finding sponsors for movies and bringing actors in, is that business side of it, where the skill of getting over rejection has helped you in those fields as well?
Absolutely, because once it steps in, what happens is the creative aspect of I want to be an actor start dying down, right? So you tap into other areas, as we mentioned. And why I will advise you, I know you want to be a musician or actor, but still look at the spectrum of the business, right? You can be a good actor tomorrow. You can still be a good producer tomorrow. You can still be a good distributor tomorrow, right? So do not say, because I couldn't make it as an actor, that's it. You see, my body structure just changed. I just dropped it. But you keep, you maintain that posture and you keep driving, but try to learn other aspects of the business in that same field. So that's also what I did. If I had, kept on saying, okay, I couldn't get in, or maybe get the role that I wanted, I wouldn't move to the other part. But what I did was to start writing, or start connecting myself with those who can write better than I do. They write a good piece, and I get into the finance aspect. Then I get into making the movie to tell the story, to bring it into life.
We could go on all afternoon, but I know we're coming down for time. I can't see him at the back, but I can feel his energy saying, wrap it up, Miss B. That was an incredible conversation. I loved having all of you. If you could leave us with one tip about what you've learned through your lens and how you want to kind of shape that next conversation that our audience will have with a student, an educator, somebody at the supermarket who makes eye contact, anything to really instill the importance of creativity as a strategy, what would that be? Let's start with Areej.
I just want to say a fun fact. Employees with creativity and creative nature out-profited a lot of employees as per the economic forum with 3% last year. So if we're looking at numbers like this and we're considering the advantage that employees with creativity and creativity nature, which is a big advantage. I try to make my own kids, go for films and to act in films, but it wasn't for them. For sure, it's not for them. So they were not creative enough. So I believe that it is an advantage, but we need to make sure that we are looking at it with the right behavior and attitude, not downgrading this kind of a skill.
I love how you brought that metric, that quantitative metric. If we're going to put a number to it, 3% outperformed in terms of how much money they were generating in their income. So there's a win in that creativity. I love that. Thank you for bringing that in. Azizah, what would your last thought be for anyone walking away to instill creativity as a strategy?
If, let's say, you are not a creative person as a mom or in a house or but your child is, I think you have to somehow figure out who your child is in the very beginning. So if you are academic and your child is creative, you shouldn't be, no, you have to do this one because this is what is good. This is what I see is good. You got to understand that your child is a unique person and have faith that whatever you teach your child from young, and trust that he or she will be okay.
I love that. Thank you so much. Maya, what would your last thought be?
Okay, I'm gonna try to say this as fast as I can. I think that imagine me smaller. I know it's possible. There was a time where I actually grew when I was cuter. It was my first birthday party. I said I wanted to be a rock star, and my cake had electric guitars on it. And for the longest time, I wanted to put myself out there, and I just didn't because I was scared. My parents, especially my mom, kept telling me, go sing, go do it. I said no, okay? I was the background character. And then one time during year 7, I was with my friends. Just so happened that they all played instruments. We started jamming, it was near Christmas, and we sounded good. And I enjoyed it. And so we performed at the school fair, and then I performed at the hotel. And I was in my element, so I think that I would tell people, I would tell anybody, everybody in this room, anybody watching, to just do it. You will never know if you never try. I remember telling myself that, hey, maybe this is kind of crazy. I should just be a vet or a police officer, which, by the way, I can't do any of that. I'm very unfit and I can't send blood. But just go for it and just enjoy yourself. I think that's the most important thing you could do in life is just having a good life.
Maya,
have fun.
Don't let anyone ever dim that light. Chuka, what is your leaving thought?
Words, self-love, and be true to yourself.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone in the room for staying in the room and joining us in this conversation. And that is a wrap. We are done. Thank you.